All right, so we said 2 days ago, actually, not yesterday, that in order to find the slope, there's two ways. If it's in slope-intercept form, then we pull the m and the b. The m would be my slope, and 0b would be my y-intercept. So it didn't ask for you to identify it, but obviously you have to identify it to graph it. And then we said there's a shortcut when it's in standard form. We're going to use that shortcut again today, and it's going to be pretty helpful. So I'm just going to review it real fast. And it would be negative a over b. So you change the sign of what's in front of the x, and then you put it over what's in front of the y, and that also gets you your slope, okay? So for number one on this one, my m is 3/2, which is my slope. And then my b would be negative 4. So I'd start at 0, negative 4. And I'd go up 3 into the right 2. 1, 2, 3 into the right 2. Okay, again, you could also go down 3 into the left 2 because you reverse both those signs. It still results in a negative number. And then draw your line through those points. And you get that first line. God bless you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, then, I lost the, come back. All right, then the second one, I could use the shortcut to get the m, which would be negative 3 over 4, but I still need the y-intercept. So you have two choices: solve it, get it equal to y, or plug a 0 in for the x, and I'd get that y, because I'd get 4, y equals 12. I'd get y equals 3. So that's the other way you could find your y-intercept. Again, you could solve it for y, so subtract the 3x and divide everything by 4, and you'd get 3 as well. Or you could plug 0 in, which again, we're going to review when we get to intercepts. So 0, 3 means I'm up at the positive 3, negative 3/4.
At this time, any juniors and junior teachers in iCatholic or 103 to 124, and also any junior and junior teachers in the 400s, please report to the gym.
And I get my line that way. Questions on that one? Okay, then I look at number 3, and 3 is a special case, right? Why is 3 a special case?
Because there's no slope.
Good. There's no x, right? So it would be a y equals, I'd have to subtract the 5, so it'd be negative 4. And if it's a y equals, this means it's what kind of line? Horizontal, which means my slope is 0. And I'd go to where y equals negative 4 and just draw my straight line right through that point. So if they're that special case, the horizontal or the vertical, you don't need more than 1 point. You can get by with just that 1 point. Special case is also true for 4. I'd have to divide by 2, and I get x equals 5. This time there's no y, which means this is a vertical line, and a vertical line has what kind of slope? Good. So I go where x equals 5, and I draw a vertical line. Questions? Who got them all right? Okay, good. This is obviously, you're not going to have a ton of questions on, like, as basic as these when it comes time for quiz or test, but if you don't have the foundation of this, obviously moving forward is really hard. So speaking of, you actually get like a week free of no quizzes and tests next week. I think this is your first in a while. We're going to go a couple of sections next week, and then we'll move into the quiz the following week. So I have to help with parish visits, and because of that, I will be out of your class on Monday, virtual parish visits. So what I'm going to do is I'll leave a video going over the notes that we would normally do in class. When I am out and I leave a video, I collect your notes. Okay, so you get a free 100 just by doing the notes. But I want to be really clear that you have to take the notes and turn them in. And then you'll get the time for the rest of the class to work on the homework. So for you guys in class, hopefully there's a sub, and I'll leave the YouTube video and they can put it here so you don't have to watch it and also take notes on your device at the same time. So you'll watch it here. Okay. For the folks at home, I will post the YouTube link to the video 4, and it will cover the 2-1B warm-up and the 2-2A notes. I'll post that at home, and then you'll just take the notes and then you'll turn them in. The notes and the warm-up will be due by the end of the class period, so it's really important that you do them when you need to do them. And then you'll get an opportunity to start your homework and work on the homework until the next day. And then I am out on Tuesday as well for, like, I have to stay home with my children because they're off. That was a pre-planned personal day. I didn't know I was doing parish visits. So I will do the same thing again on Tuesday, which means a free second 100 by turning in the notes. And then on Wednesday, I'll be back and help you, like, answer any questions that you have on that kind of stuff. Should something go wrong in those 2 days, you need to just email me, okay? You need to let me know if something happens, if you're absent, whatever it is, please just communicate with me, and we'll deal with it on a case-by-case basis. 2-1B is now flipping the information. I'm going to give you information about a line. You are then going to give me the equation. So in the yesterday's stuff, I gave you the equation. You took the information out of it. Now we're flip-flopping, okay? So the answers to these will all be equations. WebAssign is still going to ask you to graph some of them, not all of them, but graph them. So we're still reviewing that.
Your teacher portables.
Okay, so to find the equation of a line, you've got a different approach depending on the kind of information you're given. If I give you the slope and the y-intercept, then all you have to do is literally plug those numbers in. You would plug them into the m and the b, and that's it. You would leave y as y, x as x, but the m gets replaced with the slope, and the b gets replaced with the y-intercept, okay? Those are the easy ones. If I give you a slope, the slope and a point, so it depends on what you're given, what you're going to do. If I give you the slope and a point, then you actually have two options. The first is to take that point and plug it into the x1 and the y1, and the slope into the m on point slope, which is y1 minus, or y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And then you'll solve for y from there. Option 2 is plug the point into x and y and the slope into m into slope intercept, so y equals mx plus b. Now the difference between those two options is when you plug it into the second one, you only have one variable left, so you're going to solve for that variable, and then you have to take and plug the m and the b back into the y equals mx plus b again. So you're kind of plugging in twice, just the last time, just to get the answer. And then the last one is if you're given 2 points. So if you're given 2 points, then we first have to find the slope because we didn't get it using the y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, and then do either option 1 or 2 with that slope and either point. So you could pick either point that's given. Super important is note the bottom. It says unless otherwise stated, answers should be in slope intercept form. So WebAssign, all the answers are in slope intercept form, which means it's y equals mx plus b, right? So whatever answer you get at the end should be solved for y. There's an example in which it's going to ask you for standard form, so I would show you how it would look if it was different. But if it doesn't state it, you assume slope intercept form, okay? All right, so let's work through the examples. The first one says, or well, all the instructions say, find the equation of the line with the given information. Okay, so in number 1, you're given literally the m and the b, right? So this is my m, and this is my b. I take it and plug it into y equals m, x, it's a positive 5, so plus b. Super easy, just plug in the m and the b. Yes. Second one, this time I have the point, the slope, and I've got a point, right? So I'm going to show you both ways. I tend to do point slope, like that's what I prefer, so I don't have to re-plug it back in, but it's completely up to you. I will show you both ways and you get to choose. So option 1 was point slope. I'm going to take this as my x1 and this is my y1, and I'm plugging it into y minus y1 equals m x minus x1. So y stays as y, minus 5 equals m is negative 2, x stays as x, x1 is 4. I got to solve this for y, so what would you do first? Distribute the negative 2, y minus 5 equals negative 2x plus 8, and add the 5, y equals negative 2x plus 13. That's option 1. The other option is now use this as x and y in my slope-intercept form. So if y equals mx plus b, I would get 5 equals m is -2, x is 4 plus b. 5 would equal -8 plus b, add the 8, b is 13. Then I take and plug back in the m and the b. So y equals m is -2, x stays as x, b is +13. Either way, same answer. Totally up to you how you choose to do that. So I plugged in the x and the y into the x and the y. I plugged in the m into m, solved for b, and then plugged back in the m and the b. Questions so far? Yep.
So for the -2 and 4, you're just like multiplying the two x's, like the slope and the x.
Here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm confused where you have to plug it back in.
On the second option, so you have b, right? And I got a, I got m up here. But the answer is not what b is, the answer is the equation. So I have to take those two and plug it back into y equals mx plus b. That's all. You're just plugging into m and you're plugging into b.
I was confused, like I thought that meant like you had to do it again.
Nope. You're just plugging those two back in. Yep. All right, so number 3, again, it's got the, now to the slope and it's got a point. So I'm going to do option 1 for number 3 and then I'll do option 2 for number 4. Again, you don't have to do it this way. But here's my x1 and here's my y1. So y minus y1 equals m, which is 2/3. X minus a -1 makes that x plus 1. Now, you can get rid of the fraction. I can multiply everything by 3 and then divide by 3 at the very end. You can do that. Or you can distribute the fraction. Y minus 2 equals 2/3 x plus 2/3. And then add the 2. Y equals 2/3 x. 2/3 plus 2 becomes 2/3 plus 6/3, which is 8/3. Again, you would get the same answer if you plugged that into the y equals mx plus b, solved for b, b would be 8/3.
Isn't the one -1 and the 2 +2?
Yes, but when you plug it into the equation, it's y minus y1, so it changes that sign. And then when it's x minus x1, so x minus a -1 becomes x plus 1. Is that good, Ethan? You understand?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, now this fourth one, we said first, we've got to find our slope. We're not given the slope yet, right? So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. This could be my x1, y1, and x2, y2. Again, doesn't matter as long as the numbers match. So I get 6 minus 4 over 5 minus 2. 2 over 3 is my slope. And then I can pick either point to use it with. Usually I would say if there is a negative amongst those points, don't pick that one. That's when mistakes get made.
If there are any other
So again, people make silly mistakes when it's dealing with negatives. So if you have a point that doesn't have one and a point that does, I would pick the one that doesn't. This case, they're both all positive, so it really doesn't matter which one you pick. So I'm just going to grab that first one, okay? And I would say y equals mx plus b, so I'm going to do that second option this time. This is my x, this is my y, that's my m. So 4 equals 2/3 times x is 2 plus b. So I'd get 4 equals 2 over 1 times 2/3 is 4/3 plus b. Subtract 4/3. 4 over 1 minus 4/3. This becomes 12/3 minus 4/3, which is 8/3. Now I take and plug back in my m and my b. Y equals 2/3 x plus 8/3.
So for this, you find the slope and you plug in, doesn't matter, either point.
Correct. And you could do option 1 or 2 there. I just did 2 because I did option 1 on number 3. So you could, once you get the slope, you could take the slope and the point and plug it back into point slope, or you could take the slope and the point and plug it back into slope intercept. Yep.
So when you rewrite it, like, you're using the 2 as the x and then the 4 as the y, but then when you rewrite it, you don't use those?
Correct. When you rewrite your answer, you want an x and a y to be in your answer. Yep. Questions? Everybody good so far? And then again, homework's going to say, now graph this. Okay, so remember, just take a screenshot of those, pull it in, and graph it. And did you get it to work? The graphs?
I did on my computer.
Okay. On the computer, I know it works, but I just don't. Did anybody get the graphing to work on the iPad? Yeah, I don't know what happened to WebAssign. It used to work.
It just doesn't, like.
It won't let it read. Yeah, they updated something. It's so dumb. Go back, WebAssign. I don't know why that happened, but last year it was working. We could graph lines on it, and then this year, no. Sometimes it's are not good. All right, so now we've got our special cases, right? We've got horizontal lines and vertical lines. So if it says I have a horizontal line passing through 4, 7, this is where your memorization skills come into play. If it's horizontal, what variable do I have and what variable am I missing? I have a y, missing x, right? Because it's like this, right? So the x never changes, horizontal. So this is an x equals, because the x is, no, this is, I just said that right, other way. This is a y equals, and then I literally just grab the y, which is 7. That's it. No work involved, but if you grab the wrong letter, you're wrong, right? So be careful. Yep. If you need the visual, it's a horizontal line passing through 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's say it's up here. Horizontal. All these points on this line have the same y. They have different x's, but they all have the same y. The y is what's unchanging, which is what we use for the equation. Yeah? You sure? You're good?
I thought I had a question, but
Okay.
I just didn't know how to, yeah.
Okay. All right, so vertical line. Again, now if we want the visual, -1, -2. Vertical line, what's true about those values? What's not changing? The x. So this is an x equals, and I grab the letter, or the number that is the x, and there's my answer. Questions on those? Super easy, no work, but you have to know the right letter. Yeah.
I remember the question.
Oh, good.
Okay, so like just in case I were to hypothetically forget if horizontal was the x or the y or vertical was the x or the y, it's like if I plug it into like the problems before that.
You only have a point. I mean, you could know that slope is 0. Is that what you mean? If I know horizontal has a slope of 0,
There would be no way to figure out if
you
it's
could
y
if it's horizontal. I could say this is x1 and y1, and I could say y minus 7 equals 0 times x minus 4. Y minus 7 would equal 0 times 0, so 0, and y would equal 7. So horizontal you can, but y has slope as undefined. How the heck do you plug in undefined?
So if it's undefined, I just have to know.
It's vertical.
And everything else is horizontal.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Thank you.
But that requires you knowing as soon as you see horizontal, that's slope of 0, and vertical, that slope is undefined, right? So this is one of those that, like, if you get an opportunity to write notes, I can make myself little notes about horizontal and vertical. Yeah. All right, parallel and perpendicular lines. So parallel lines, something you learned a lot about in geometry, but not in this. Well, you could have if you were in honors. I think they cover this, but we're not talking about the angles that are formed here. We're specifically talking about just the lines. Parallel lines have slopes that are equal. So if I had 2 parallel lines, they'd have the same rise over run, same exact slope. Huh? You did remember that. Yeah, right. Perpendicular lines, what's perpendicular mean? They go like that. Yeah, they meet at a right angle. So parallel, right, would be like, ooh, that's not parallel. Would be like, let's see, how could I get? Yep. and then perpendicular, just like that, right? The slopes of perpendicular lines are opposite reciprocals. So opposite meaning if it's a positive, it changes to a negative. If it's negative, it changes to a positive. And reciprocals meaning flip whatever I've got. So if I told you the slope of a line is 2/3, what's the slope of a line that's parallel to it?
2/3.
Also 2/3. What's the slope of a line that's perpendicular to it? -3/2. Flip it and change your sign. If I told you the slope of a line was -3, what's the slope of a line that's parallel to it? -3. What's the slope of a line that's perpendicular to it? +1/3. Good.
So it's the opposite reciprocal.
Opposite reciprocal. Yep. Change the sign and flip it.
But what are you trying to find? Opposite?
Right now, just the slope, and then you're going to see how we're going to use this.
Wait, don't you have the slope right there?
The slope of that line, right? So if I gave you the slope of this one, and I said, what's the slope of a line parallel to it? You keep it the same. What's the slope of a line perpendicular to that original line? And that's when you flip it and change the sign.
So parallel is the same and perpendicular is versus.
Opposite reciprocal. Opposite reciprocal.
Yeah, I just
Say it 10 times fast.
Opposite.
Opposite, as long as you know what it
I can't
means.
say
Right?
it 10 times fast, but I can't say it 1 time slow.
Should be like some sort of a challenge.
Okay.
Questions so far? Okay, so now let's talk about how we're going to apply it. So this says find the equation of a line again with the given information. Look at A. A says find the equation of a line that is A parallel to and B, so there's two questions here. Parallel and then B perpendicular to this line, 2x minus 3y equals 5, that passes through this point. So first of all, there's two questions here. A is a line that is parallel to it, and B is a line that is perpendicular to it. So the only piece of information I need from this original equation is its slope. I'm not going to use the y-intercept. I just need the slope. So what's the fastest way to find the slope of that line? Good. There's that shortcut, right? -a/b. So because this is in standard form, only because it's in standard form that works, right? Remember standard form, both on the same side, no fractions, x positive. So now I would get my slope is -2/3, which is a +2/3. Then I'm done with that line. I don't take anything else out of it. And it's the most common mistake people make is then pulling out the y-intercept on that. You're done with that line. I'm not using that line again. All I needed from it was its slope. If you don't remember the shortcut, then we're going to solve this for y. And as soon as I get that slope, I don't even need to bring this down. As soon as I get that slope, I'm done. So however you get the slope, whether it's a shortcut or moving things around, you get the slope out of that line, okay? Yep.
Why do we have to find the equation if it gives us? Why are we finding it?
Because we need the slope from it.
No, but like with the like the 2x and 1, right? -1, y. Like later, like I just read the question, it's like telling us to find the equation, but we do.
Find the equation of a line that is parallel to that and a line that is perpendicular to
Oh.
that, right? Not that line itself.
I thought it was like asking us for the equation of that line. And I was
Nope.
very confused.
So a line that is, if you read them separate, so ignore B, right? A line that is parallel to this line that passes through that point. So from this line, we need the slope, and there's our point, right? And then we're gonna do a line that is perpendicular to this line that passes through that point. So now we need the slope of this one, opposite reciprocal, and that point. Does that make sense? Okay. Yep.
If it's parallel, we'll just do.
Yeah, my slope is the same. So my M is 2/3, but I need to use this point. The line they give me does not pass through that point. The one I'm trying to find passes through that point.
Oh, and the y would be like the b?
No. So this is my point. So now I can either use point slope or y equals mx plus b, right? Does that make sense? So from the equation I'm given, I need the slope, but then I have to use the point that they give me. So again, I'm going to use point slope this time. which is x1, y1, y minus the negative 1 equals 2/3 x minus the x1, which is 2. This becomes y plus 1 equals 2/3 x minus 2. Distribute the 2/3. And then subtract the 1. Negative 4/3 minus 1 becomes 3/3. That's negative 7/3. No, the 1 has to become something over 3, right? So we give it its like denominator. So again, from the first equation, all we're getting is the slope, and then we are done with that equation. Then I use that slope. If it's parallel, I use that slope and the point that's given to me. If it's perpendicular, what's the slope of the line? Good. Now I use negative 3 over 2, but still the point to negative 1.
I also got negative 5/3.
You distributed,
Like I did the other way.
okay,
But she did both ways.
yep. So y equals mx plus b. Y is negative 1, m is 2/3, x is 2 plus b, negative 1, 4/3 plus b. Subtract the 4/3. Negative 1 becomes negative 3/3 minus 4/3. You should still get negative 7/3. Did you do it differently?
No, I did it like that, but when I subtracted it, I got 5/3 because I did 1 over 3.
Oh, okay. You both did that then. Right?
Then I multiplied it.
I got you. All right, then B. So again, we're using the perpendicular slope, which is negative 3/2, and the point that is at 2, negative 1. So I'll use option 2 on this one, just so that we practice both. This would be my x, this would be my y. So I'd get y, which is negative 1, equals m, negative 3/2, times x, which is 2, plus b. Negative 1 would equal, the 2's cancel here, negative 3 plus b. Add the 3, b is 2. Take and plug back in the m and the b. Y equals negative 3/2 x plus b. So notice that the slopes on these lines are opposite reciprocals. That makes sense, right? Because these should be perpendicular. But the b's are going to be different. Don't pull the b. That's what people do. Like they solve for the first one and then they take that b and they flip the slope. That's not what you can't do that. Okay? The point slope way? What time is it? Let me work through 7. I'll do, and then I'll go back, okay? If we have time, which we should because it's math, but I also want to give you an opportunity to take a break.